You might have to bleep this out. It pisses me off.
We had to give this Katie mom the bad news.
You need to get off my property.
Are
right
you
now.
Dr. Fry?
This is private property.
I would like to talk to you about...
You will not record me.
The Texas Medical Board let her former OBGYN doctor off the hook without even a slap on the wrist.
Dr. Fry misdiagnosed me. She told me that I had HPV, cancer, cervical cancer.
Her complaint against Dr. Patricia Fry Murray was one of dozens of complaints that poured into our office after our sex doctor's investigation first aired more than a year and a half ago.
You're not leaving.
We are leaving.
You're not going to leave with that.
Oh yeah, I am.
Don't
Don't
make a mistake. Don't make a mistake.
No.
You're going to make a mistake.
No, I'm not.
It wasn't questionable medicine that first brought us out to Baytown last year. The good doctor and her hubby were running a bed and breakfast for swingers next door to the medical clinic called the Swan Mansion. This is a sex club.
No, it's not.
It's not? So what comes after the dinner? What comes after dinner? What's the dessert? Is the dessert sex?
No. Desserts. Creme brulee.
They did serve creme brulee for dessert, but it clearly wasn't the only thing on the menu. Thanks for the orgasms, this couple wrote as a review. But the city of Baytown just didn't care, even when a naked guy scared a bunch of kids riding at a horse stable next door. And now the Texas Medical Board has given Texans one more reason to wonder if they're really doing their job.
They didn't let me see my daughter. All they told me was she got cut in the head. I just started bawling, just shaking at that point because something went wrong.
Maria Lopez's baby was sliced in the head during a C-section. Marilee Gammon's baby suffered a traumatic birth with forceps and ended up in a neonatal intensive care unit with a hole in his lung.
Dr. Fry had come in and she said, so everything's great, everything's okay, baby's fine. And excuse my language, but my exact words were, are you fucking serious?
There were so many horrific complaints against Dr. Fry that we put them all together and sent them to state investigators. It's a list of scarred babies and women. This is not a one-off. This is not a two-off. This is a doctor who has a pattern and practice of hurting women and the children they are delivering. That was testimony I gave to the medical board committee in late November. 10 days later, even I was shocked, and I'm not shocked that often. After an alleged 15-month investigation, the 16-member Texas Medical Board dismissed our complaint totally, ignoring at least 29 women who came forward with medical nightmares. And what is really scary, none of the women we talked to after that controversial decision said they were ever even contacted.
This woman has injured for profit so many people, and for them to just dismiss all of these complaints is unreal.
Tina Carmichael told us Dr. Fry burned a hole in her bladder during a hysterectomy, and another doctor had to open her back up to fix the damage.
I want to know if any of them on the board that dismissed this is a part of her swinger sex club and they have something they need to hide.
When we were keeping tabs on Swan Mansion, we did see the car of a prominent Houston area doctor in the parking lot at one of their parties, but he wasn't on the medical board.
What happened to the oath that they took? Because they were doctors before they were on that board. I want to know what happened to that oath. Because right now they are all in violation of that oath.
Hey, medical board, this is how you actually do investigations. You call and talk to people.
I do research, and I found some things about your venue that I was kind of surprised about. Like, is it still a swingers club?
Bear Murray didn't know he was talking to Dolcefino Consulting. The doctor's husband thought he was talking to a potential customer for the new and improved Swan Mansion, now being called the Graceland Wedding and Event Center. That's the other side business the sex doctors are now running out of this 12,000 square foot mansion. We can only assume that the bride and groom will be wearing clothing, unlike many of the guests of the Swan Mansion.
It never was a swingers club. That is unfortunate that
that lie or that misrepresentation got out there.
Bear Murray still wants to argue that Swan Mansion wasn't really a swingers mansion, even though they marketed on swingers websites. But he tells us his wife just wasn't making enough money being a medical doctor.
Baytown is in the OB side of things is 66% Medicaid. And you do not retire from OB in a demographic like this.
And Bear takes all the credit for trying to attract folks who like to, well, screw around.
I came up with the idea, and I'm very happy about the idea, of marketing to people who are sex positive.
So the Never Really Was a Swingers Club is allegedly closing its door for good in January. But that still leaves the trail of patient damage left by Dr. Fry, who was also referring women suffering from postpartum depression to her husband, who was falsely posing as a medical doctor when he wasn't one. She even put the evidence on her website. The Texas Medical Board issued a cease and desist order against Bear Murray back in March of 22.
No
compassion,
moral compassion, care, anything. I think, my honest opinion, she's in it for the money and that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Delchapina. Panel, do you have any questions for Mr. Delchapina? No, Dr. Rovner. Mr. Gracia?
No, I have no questions.
They obviously didn't want to ask me questions, but to ignore the claims of so many women in the Baytown area is simply inexcusable. And this letter we got from the medical board dismissing our complaint is actually evidence the medical board's investigation was crappy. They only claim to have reviewed the 7 women we identified in our original complaint, but they ignored 22 other women that came forward after our sex doctors' investigations began to air. There were at least 3 different investigators for the state, and it's clear that revolving door let a lot of the complaints simply fall through the cracks. What does it take to get the medical board to send a powerful message to a doctor with so many angry patients? In October, the medical board announced they were punishing a doctor for not following up on a lab test he ordered. Another discipline for not handling complications after surgery. But in this case, there are C-sections that were left open, a hole burned in a bladder, a misdiagnosis of cancer, multiple babies cut with the scalpel. That's apparently just fine for those doctors on the Texas Medical Board.
Just don't go to Dr. Fred, because I know my experience and I wouldn't want anybody else to go through that.
We're going to expose and fight this medical board injustice. Maybe this is just the revenge of the sex doctors, but it's not the end of our fight for these women.